Hello, y'all. So I wanted to give my thoughts as an esthetician on this situation right here. So breaking news is doctors have found that UV lights, no surprise, honey, is potentially carcinogenic based off of studies. I'm going to allow Dr. Metcalf, y'all might know him best for being the wife of Dr. Contessa off of Married to Medicine. So here we go, right here. It's going to be a minute and 4 seconds, and then I'm going to come back with my commentary.
Hey guys, it's Dr. Scott Metcalf coming to you with a quick medical moment. Within the last 24 hours, researchers at UC San Diego have determined that the ultraviolet rays emitted from the nail dryers at your local salons can cause cell death, mitochondrial damage, DNA damage, and that damage has been correlated to look just like the patterns of cell death and damage that are associated with many of the skin cancers. So they're saying this UV light can cause skin cancer in a sense. And makes sense because at the distal tips of our fingertips where the nail dryers are placed is where our capillaries in. The capillaries are the thinnest blood vessels that we have, which means the blood gets even more exposure and probably more prone to damage on a molecular level. So this is something that's very interesting, and I think definitely should be stopped right now. Y'all have a great day. We'll talk about this later.
Okay, so y'all heard that. But my thing is this: what took so long? I mean, hell, we knew about UV on any sort of level. If we're gonna break it down to science, even going out and being exposed to a certain amount of UV can potentially be carcinogenic and cause melanoma, even with us as black people. So it's like something that emits UV. The hypothesis is obviously clear. It can also do similar to what the sun's rays will be able to do to you. And the studies are still vague on, you know, how, like what was the sample size? Is it in general? Have they? And the reason why I had to be like this is because before you talk about messing up an entire industry, I'm an esthetician. This does not necessarily affect me, but nail techs, this affects because a lot of doggone people utilize the UV technology. Now, what Dr. Metcalf admitted was upon further research into this, I found out that this study was based off of people who was exposed to the UV light for 20 minutes. Now, has there been a hypothesis to say if somebody has gotten the UV light repetitively equal to 20 minutes, would it have the same amount of damage as it was if somebody was continuously exposed to said UV for a prolonged period of time? Because one can argue, similar to being out in the sun, black people, we naturally have a certain degree of melanin, protection. We have a certain amount of SPF within us via our melanin. We can be out in the sun longer than people who are melanin deficient, but only for a certain period of time. So me being out every day for like 5 minutes is not harming me, equivalent to if I was out the same time over that week, but all at one time. Because for the damage to start taking place is usually over a prolonged period in one sitting. So once again, the same thing can be said as far as the UV nail lights or whatnot. They saying that it was based off of 20 minutes, but it only takes about 1 to 2 minutes for the nails to cure. Who is under the UV light for like 20 some minutes? I mean, inquiring minds want to know. Like I said, I'm not a nail tech, but and I don't go get press-ons or anything of the sorts. Y'all know my nails are natural. This is short for me. Y'all know my nails usually grow out to here like Flojo, honey. But I wouldn't be so quick to cancel the nail salon because it's like, yeah, it might be carcinogenic, but until more studies come out to say that it's a definitive danger, I would say take this with a grain of salt, because if we're going to go down this rabbit hole, one can easily say that the diet and stuff that the FDA darn approves is more of immediate danger to you. I mean, there has been numerous well-documented studies on the effects of, artificial dyes and stuff in our food, stuff that we give to our children come every Halloween. Like we search the candy and stuff for like razor blades and these opiates that now look colorful. They got the fentanyl that looks like darn going little sweet tarts or whatnot. But we don't darn going talk about the health risk of the actual candy that is manufactured on the daily. That has been linked to Alzheimer, early onset Alzheimer's, autism, cognitive brain, all sorts of brain impairments, Down syndrome. The list just goes on and on and on of stuff that affects more people as far as a diet, even down to cancer, even down to meats not being properly regulated like it should be. The list goes on and on and on. The stuff that is even allowed in a hot dog, they say is equivalent to smoking a pack of cigarettes. Yet there's no warnings on that clone meat, and it don't even have to be. They don't have to say genetically modified on the label. You can be eating darn on replicated fish, and you wouldn't even know it, because the FDA does not even have a guideline to even put like. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to harm us. So when it comes to this darn on UV, I would say take it as the same grain of salt as is being exposed to the regular sun. All forms of UV has the potential to be carcinogenic, but just like you go out in the sun and you're not going to necessarily worry about melanoma for being exposed for 2 to 3 minutes, I would say the same thing as far as the UV lights. You should not be worried about being exposed for 2 to 3 minutes. Now, as far as your nail beds having the thinnest capillaries and blood vessels and stuff and being more prone to it, one could say, well, you might be more of a higher risk because of the fact that the UV light is at a higher concentration and it's focusing on the nail bed as opposed to the sunlight. Okay, that argument could possibly be made. But once again, I would say wait for more studies to come out. And then it's like, well, what's not to say that the solution to that can be simply, before we just go and be quick to say, oh, just shut this off and affect the whole industry's darn gone source of income. See, it's easy for Dr. Metcalf to darn gonna say shut it off because this ain't his darn gonna realm of practice. He goes and do his whatever branch of medicine that he does. But for nail techs, this is going to darn gonna cause them to darn gonna be out some money. And then of course, we in a high risk industry as it is. The banks ain't going to bail us out. And matter of fact, I was looking at a video of Lovely T earlier. Honey, banks are robbing people left and right. They just darn gonna rob Usain Bolt of $12 million on the low. People going to the banks and they can't even get access to their funds. They finding out their accounts are in the negative, and these are major banks: Wells Fargo, Bank of America, you name it. Even some credit unions are cutting up. Thank God for Navy Federal ain't on this bullshit, honey. Let's hope Navy Federal don't be with this. But yeah, it's like, it's not like people can go to the bank during this time to help offset this darn on issue of doctors trying to darn on fearmonger without no substantiated proof, unless we come out with some undeniable, undisputable, definitive results. I would say it is a little bit too harsh to go ahead and tell all nail techs to cease doing this type of service, because a lot of people love it, and that's high dollar. I think for that type of nail work goes for upwards of what, like $80. So you're not gonna harm the whole industry. And once again, why can't they just put sunscreen? I'm just thinking of it like this: just like we protect our skin from the sun, the same thing could be for the nail tips. I'm sure they can come out with a spray solution where you put on some SPF on it, especially with the hands are the most melanin deficient. So I'm surprised nobody hasn't thought about coming out with something like that. Well, hell, maybe Dr. Metcalf, you a doctor, you can team up with a chemist of sorts and um come up with something revolutionary like that. Because if this is a thing, why can't you just have a SPL to cover it, the sensitive nail beds, and that provides enough of a protection where people can still get their nails done. They can get the what's it called? Once again, y'all, like I said, this is not my industry. I do chemical peels, I do body wraps, I do waxing, even every now and again a makeup application if I'm feeling darn going like doing it. I'm more so skincare. But yeah, as far as the folks who want to do nails and stuff, it's like don't be afraid to go get your nails done until more stuff come out. Just takes this with a grain of salt. Like I said, there's a lot of more immediate things that you can do as far as um changing up in your life that can affect your health, such as, like I said, the diet that we as Americans consume, holding the FDA accountable on their lack of regulations in regards to clone meat, what is allowed to be put in candies that we give to children as early as a year old, etc. All these stuff in conjunction can lead to a whole myriad of conditions, including cancer, even down to, and I've been saying this for years, women have been going through polycystic ovarian syndrome, aka PCOS, and unbeknownst to them, a lot of them, it was brought on by the pads that they use on the darn on daily for their menstrual, on the monthly for their menstrual cycles, because the FDA does not regulate that certain ingredients. They allow for, recycled newspaper. It's crazy to think that this is up against women's hind parts. But yes, you would be amazed that some of your pads are made from like recycled newspapers, wood fibers, etc. And it's darn going up against your darn going intimate areas or whatnot. The chemicals that they allow to be within the pads causing reactions to darn possibly darn be responsible for your darn fibroids. So now you got all these women dealing with these issues, and unbeknownst to them, it was brought on by the stuff that they was recommended to by the government. And then don't even get me started on birth control. I got a love hate with that too, because it's like that messes up women in the long term versus recommending the natural holistic alternative that can keep women from being able to have pregnancy without the dangerous side effects that come with the darn going birth control. So there's a whole lot of stuff that doctors like Dr. Metcalf could actually darn going look into and darn going speak up about with their medical expertise and challenge the darn going Congress, challenge the FDA on. But as far as darn going trying to put nail techs out of business, come on now. I'm not here for it. So those are my thoughts. Y'all leave y'all thoughts down below. Feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I will see y'all soon with more videos. Mwah.